Who's that coming down the track? It's a mean machine in red and black. Ain't nothing finer in the land. Than a drunk obnoxious Georgia man. Go, go! Go, go!
What's up, y'all? This is John and Mike back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. Tonight we are talking about going ahead and doing our Puncher's Chance teams. Because there's three of us this year, we are doing it a little bit differently. Each of the three of us has two teams, and we're going to read Caleb's off. But I think we're going to try to, Mike and I do the interviews for Mike's Puncher's Chance teams. Caleb and I do the interviews for his teams, and then honestly for my teams, we just kind of, whenever the person is available, whether it's with Mike or Caleb, we'll get those. But we're gonna try and get everybody's in. Still got 6 teams this year, but before we get into any of that, how have you been? What are you drinking?
Been good, man. Been busy doing Mother's Day stuff. Happy belated Mother's Day to everyone that's listening, unless you're watching live right now. Nah, man. I mean, just low key for the most part. I went to my in-laws' house, went to the pool for a little bit. And hung out there for a little while. But outside of that, I actually don't have any. I don't know. I have a Diet Coke over here, but how about you?
Good, yeah. So I played in a disc golf tournament yesterday, and like as someone who now I think like as the crow flies, I think we live like 3 maybe 4 miles apart.
Yeah.
So you remember yesterday around, I don't know, let's say 10:30, when the sky just opened up and dropped the ocean on our area, and the thunder and lightning, and we got like 6 inches of rain in an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was outside for that.
That's not ideal. No.
No, and we were playing through it even though it was raining so hard you couldn't actually see the basket from the tee pad. Um,
And we had like tornado warnings, like right like over our
Correct.
house, not
Uh-huh.
turned on
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the news. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was outside, and I was outside in the woods for that. And then we're sitting there, and we're like, man, should we like go back to the pavilion over there? Like it's getting pretty bad. And then lightning struck like 100 yards behind us. We're like, yep, let's not be standing in where we are, anywhere close to that. But yeah, that was fun. So it's funny. My wallet is still wet from yesterday
Ew.
morning. Yeah. So now I need a new wallet. It's falling apart. But yeah, no, that was fun.
You gotta be a boomer like me and just get the wallet phone case. I don't have
So
much.
I don't like the one that flips out. I've got one that slides, and
Okay.
so but I don't like the one that flips out. I don't know why. Um, yeah, I'm also weird and I prefer a trifold wallet because I keep it in my front pocket and it's difficult. I'm real picky about wallets.
Yeah, I think the last time I had an actual like physical wallet, we it was back when we were living near Atlanta, and I think it got stolen when we went to Six Flags Whitewater. I'm like, you know what? That's it. No more.
Yeah. Yeah, wallets are odd. Just an odd concept, especially now that really nobody carries cash and it's all cards.
Hmm.
Weird. But Puncher's Chance teams, the way that it's set up this year, at least for this episode, Mike's talking about his two, and then Mike's going to read off Caleb's first one. I'll read off Caleb's second one, and then go through my two. But I don't remember. I don't think we had any guidelines set up last year for picking teams. I just know that we tried to not pick as many SEC teams last year.
Hmm.
Because I think the first year all of mine were SEC teams. So
Yeah, we got two in this list,
we
but yeah,
did.
I don't think we had any criteria on this. Now the bandwagon teams we did have criteria on.
Yes. Yes, for sure. All right. Well, should we talk about the other sport?
Um, I don't know. They only play one game, right?
Yeah. No, the rest of the series got rained out. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. So Dogs winning the very first and only game played against Alabama, won the series in a 19-3 run rule in
huge.
Tuscaloosa. Just glorious. And the rest of the series got rained out, and it's too bad.
I'm sure if even if they played the other two games, they wouldn't have won on like aggregate, right?
Yeah. Like if you're talking,
Plus,
like if we add up all the runs that Georgia scored, and hypothetically for those other two games, and then added up all the runs that Alabama would have scored through those hypothetical other two games that got played, Georgia still wins the series. Like I feel like that's how we should count wins and losses.
it really should be 100%.
Yeah.
I think as of right now, I think Georgia's still a top four seed, so they still got. I think they are, depending on how the other games go tonight. Uh, Top four seed going in the going into the last weekend. They play Texas Tech, so they still have a
A&M.
chance to double or A&M. That's right. Not phew, ugh,
Yeah.
disgusting. A&M. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Um,
A&M. You can still get a chance for a double bye in the SEC tournament. So there's still stuff to play for.
and with A&M, man, they're an extremely odd team this season. So we all know they started off just as cold as they could get,
Mhm.
losing to mostly everybody they played at first. And then they heated back up and they started winning games against ranked opponents and they beat Arkansas a couple of times. And then they lose a series to the same Mizzou team that had won 0 SEC games this season.
Baseball is weird, man.
Baseball's weird. A&M's weirder. Um, when
That they
you
are.
give a cult an athletic department and say do things, turns out they don't really do it well.
They just know how to throw money at it, which is getting more and more important. But yeah.
Yes, I mean, but if that's the case, I will be A&M football. Just throw money at me, and I'll still be a problem.
They sign us up.
All right, Mike, are you ready?
Yes, sir. All right. So my first of the first two teams here, I got Kansas. Last year, the Jayhawk Tua sucked in the Big 12, going 5-7 overall, 4-5 in the conference. They do bring back quarterback Jalen Daniels and head coach Lance Leipold, uh, still there in Manhattan, not Manhattan, Lawrence. Good lord,
Yes.
Kansas geography. You know what? It's all the same.
There's like
It's all
two
flat.
cities in the state, and for whatever reason, we can't keep them straight.
No, no,
Neither of us can.
no. It's all the same. It's all flat. Um, but Jalen Daniels is kind of a dark horse Heisman candidate yet again. Hopefully, he can stay healthy this year for them. But the Jayhawks in 2025, they're 76th in returning production, so a little bit less than mid. With that, 61% on offense, which is 54th in the country, 47% on defense, which is 96th. And that's probably not necessarily a bad thing because Kansas is not known for their defense. So maybe it's one of those things. If you're looking back at like what Virginia Tech last year, maybe it's a good thing not having a ton of returning production on defense. We'll see.
Yeah. And this
But
is the same Kansas team that how many Big 12 hopefuls did they ruin their season at the end of the year?
it was a couple, right?
It was like two or three back to
Yeah,
back
yeah.
that lost to Kansas, and that's the reason they didn't play in the title game. Pretty sure
I
the
feel like
reason Colorado didn't play for the Big 12
mhm.
was Kansas.
It might have been BYU as well,
Oh, that
maybe.
sounds right. That also
Yeah,
sounds right.
I don't know. The Big 12 is just a big drunk blur for the most part. So yeah, it could be. Um, but as a Big 12 team, like we were saying, they do have a fun schedule because they are America's conference. They're finally playing at Mizzou again, so that rivalry's back alive. So they're going to
What's
see
the name of that rivalry?
the Como's Naked Bowl or something like that.
That tracks actually.
Yeah,
We'll have to
yeah, we'll
double
have to look.
check with Adam Spencer, but I'm fairly certain that's the Como's Naked Bowl.
Yeah, or it's like it might be like I mean, it might be something generic like the border something or other. I can't
Border
honestly.
something sounds right.
Yeah. But they do have Missouri again in Como, beginning of the season at Texas Tech. Y'all know my feelings on that. But outside of that, there's not really any surefire losses on their schedule except possibly Iowa State. Depending on, this is a different year. So Matt Campbell can go from having, 10, 11 wins to just bottoming it out and like winning three. Because again, it is the Big 12. Who really knows?
Yeah, for
Everything's
sure.
the roll of dice, honestly. But wins against Fresno, Wagner. I'm going to say a win right now at Missouri just because I'm hopeful. Because I don't think Missouri's going to be that good this year. But that's another discussion for the summer. West Virginia, Cincinnati, at Scott Frost, UCF, at Texas Tech, which would be tough, of course. Another bye, they got Kansas State, Oklahoma State, who was atrocious last year, at
Pause.
Arizona, who was what?
You have at Texas Tech on here twice. You have it week
Oh,
2.
you know what? I might. You know what I think I did there was I think
Oh
I
no
just
no no!
put
You
it in.
have okay. Yeah. No, I see what you're doing.
You know what? I hope they play Texas Tech twice and beat them twice. That's just me.
I
Uh, Just hoping for the best. But yeah, at Arizona, they were bad last year. Then they finished the year with at Iowa State and then at home again against Utah, which again was bad. Cam Rising not playing again, which is going to be
medically
weird. I don't
retired.
remember medically retired. I don't remember a time in which Cam Rising was not on a Utah roster or just a college football roster in general. So it's going to be weird.
You know what I'm really looking forward to with Cam Rising? When he and Gardner Minshew start a podcast.
Oh shit.
I mean,
Yeah,
they could be twins. They're about the same age, you know.
we've never seen them in the same spot.
I haven't, even though well, no, they probably played against each other, Washington State and
That's a good.
Utah. Hold on, keep
They
going. I got
they
research to
very
do
may
now.
well have. Yeah. Huh. They they, they probably did. Um. Yeah, but I have yeah, Kansas. I think they're going to be better than 5-7. I mean, they can easily go 8-4, even 9-3, depending on how things roll with them. Because they have, by Big 12 standards, they have a pretty uh, manageable schedule for the most part. So we'll see.
They never Gardner Minshew's first or last year at Wazoo was 2018, and Cam Rising's first year at Utah was 2019.
That doesn't feel right. It feels like they definitely played against each other.
It, I wish that
Hmm.
talk about a top tier Big Pac-12 game.
Pac-12 after dark might have kept it alive if they actually played against each other. Shoot.
Might have.
All right. So like I said, Kansas was my first team. Second team, and I kind of went back and forth, struggling who I could put here in the second puncher's chance team for myself. But um, this team have relatively easy Big Ten schedule. They have a pretty decent chance to get to Indy based on that. And surprise, surprise, I picked Michigan. Who would have thought?
So
Obviously,
we get a Michigan Indiana Big Ten title game.
ew, maybe it could be it.
Overtime is actually just an academic decathlon.
Game day's block in the library. Um, but obviously the biggest reason for optimism in Ann Arbor is freshman quarterback Bryce Underwood. Situationally, you can say this is a very similar situation, like recruitment wise and all that, to what Tennessee did with Nico a couple years ago when he committed to Tennessee. People knew the number thrown out there. Everybody was shocked at how much it was for a high school senior, college freshman coming into that situation. Seemingly, it's like a 99% NIL driven, but Bryce is from Metro Detroit, so there could be something there, maybe possibly, even though he was an LSU commit forever. But hopefully there's some hometown pride, so to speak, there for him, and it ends up being more, about actually like winning and stuff like that than just the money. But we'll see. He did have an up and down spring game. Seems, but he does seem to know how to throw a forward pass, so that's a huge upgrade over what they had last year. and even at times under J.J. McCarthy in the national championship year. But Michigan did go. They did have 7 regular season wins, and obviously they got their 8th against Alabama. Whatever bowl game was in Tampa.
Back to
But
back wins against Ohio State and Alabama is just absurd for a team that barely made a bowl game.
and they beat Alabama twice in the same calendar year.
They did.
Insane.
Rarely done feat.
Yeah, Michigan had more wins against Alabama in 2024 than Georgia has in 17 years, something like that.
That sounds correct.
That's disgusting. Anyway, but Michigan hit the transfer market hard. They brought in Bama transfer, notable Georgia trader Justice Hayes, running back, and they also brought in former Georgia linebacker Troy Bowles, so that able to address some of the issues that they had last year. Hopefully, that ends up being a strength for them. But running back room's pretty deep for the most part, even losing Donovan Edwards, which arguably really isn't that big of a loss. He was not good last year.
And he went from cover athlete to undrafted in a year.
And it's too bad Quinn Ewers didn't get undrafted as well. Could have took some of the heat off him. So you had Heisman winner, undrafted, but Quinn went in the 7th round. So it is what it is.
Also, little quick side note here. The first time Georgia played Texas, they tore Quinn Ewers' oblique.
Yeah.
And he played through the rest of the season with a torn oblique. Like, I know he couldn't pass very well the second half of the season. His throwing a football with a torn oblique is insane. And the fact that he continued to put up with that punishment, including in the SEC title game,
Yep.
that dude's a baller. Like, I know I'm not super high on his talent level, but dude's a baller for doing that.
He's tough.
Yeah.
So he probably deserved it. Still don't understand why he didn't go even try to play somewhere else. I don't know. Maybe
Apparently he lost, like $7 million by not transferring back to Ohio State.
That would have been hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Tough guy though. Can't hate
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers. Really
Yeah.
can't.
Earned a lot of respect with that, even by
Mhm.
people that didn't like him.
So maybe that's no. I you know what? I'm not gonna put that out in the universe. Never mind. No, never mind. I'm gonna skip that. Skip that
Okay.
thought. No one needs to know. They did lose a lot of defensive production in the draft. Will Johnson, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Josiah Stewart, all gone. So they got a lot to replace there. But with all that said, they are 29th in returning production, 63% on offense, which is good for 47th in the country, and then 64% on defense, which is good for 28th. And like I said at the top of this, going into Michigan, their schedule in general is pretty easy. And their Big Ten schedule arguably is probably the easiest in the conference. They have New Mexico, then they go to Norman and play Oklahoma, which who knows what Oklahoma's going to be week 2. And then, oddly enough, we're still getting suspensions from the Connor Stallion stuff. Michigan chose to suspend Coach Moore, not at the beginning of the season, but against Central Michigan and then at Nebraska.
Which is just so disrespectful to Nebraska, and it's hilarious.
So you know what? We don't need Sharon Moore at Lincoln. We'll be fine. Hella disrespectful.
I love it, though. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. Just troll on them a little bit. That's cool. Then they have a bye. Then Wisconsin's actually their homecoming, which, again, another disrespectful thing for them. That's wild, but Wisconsin has not been good, so understandable. Wisconsin, they go to USC, which could be tough just because it's a West Coast game, but again, honestly, who knows? Washington at Michigan State they should be better, but should still be a win. Purdue win. Then they have a bye, and then they finish the year at Northwestern, which I assume that's probably at Wrigley. At Maryland, and then at home against Ohio State. So Michigan only, as of right now, they're only playing one team that's probably going to be ranked in the preseason poll, and that's Ohio State at the very end of the year.
I was going to say Nebraska with Super Bowl losing quarterback on the team, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. So that, I mean, that schedule is pretty pitiful for the most part. Oklahoma may be ranked when it comes time for that. Who knows? But very very manageable schedule for Michigan. And again, their variance goes from anywhere from, depending on how good Bryce Underwood is, from like 6 wins to 11. I'm not saying they're going to go undefeated because that'd be wild, but like it's pretty big variance. I think they will be better. They need to be better, but we'll see. But I am, as of right now, pretty high on Michigan.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be very interesting. And, just sitting here counting, they've got at least four big noon games that should be night games. So, just
Mhm.
the most Big Ten season of all time.
Well, at least the game against Oklahoma, I would be shocked if that's not like a ESPN or ABC game at like 8 o'clock or whatever.
No, dude, oh, it's at Oklahoma. That's the saving
Yeah.
grace.
Yep.
That's
Hmm.
all right. So three big noon games.
Yeah. um. Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah.
Um. And then, all right. So you want me to do the Caleb's first one?
Yes.
All right. So, Caleb's first puncher's chance team is Cincinnati, the Bearcats. Another another Big 12 team that went 5-7 last year, but there is a chance for improvement. A lot of the big boys in the lines are returning, alongside a quarterback who's getting some transfer help at running back and wide receiver with some underrated guys coming from smaller schools. They do get Iowa State at home, and then they probably luckily miss Arizona State entirely, so that's good for them in the Big 12 race. They do get BYU at home, and they have to play at Utah, plus a couple non-conference game or a non-conference game against Nebraska, which who knows? But
I think Nebraska won a bowl game for the first time last year since like 2014, 15. Sounds right.
something like that.
It was
They won
it was
the
14.
Pinstripe Bowl. No, damn.
Yeah, because I
It was
was
like
at Nebraska's last bowl win before this one. It was
that was against Georgia, right?
Yeah, it
That
was
was
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville. Ugh,
That
that
was
game
I think it was a
nasty.
22-19 game and
Yeah,
just the grossest field goal fest of all time.
yeah. I was buying a car at that point. I didn't even watch. I watched like some of that game. It was just on. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, no, it was miserable. It was
Disgusting.
cold and raining.
But with Cincinnati, they could be easily in contention for the Big 12 title at the end of the season if certain things go their way. Which, I mean, you can say that for pretty much every Big 12 team outside of not maybe UCF. I mean,
I was about to
well,
say UCF, Houston. I don't think Houston has gotten close to a bowl game in like 4 or 5 years. Um,
they did fire Dana Holgerson, so maybe they have a little bit of hope, maybe, but that's probably not so much this year.
yeah. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get into Caleb's second one, and we're talking about the Vanderbilt Commodores. We pride ourselves on being the most pro Diego Pavia podcast outside of Vanderbilt podcast.
He's our favorite
Um,
comic.
he is, most definitely. So it's not about to change. We're still extremely pro Pavia, especially Georgia not playing Vanderbilt again helps that quite a bit.
Yep.
Um, Caleb says his only hesitation is their toughest game. South Carolina, Alabama, Texas, and Tennessee are all on the road this year.
Ugh.
Um, yeah, so even if they go 8-4, they'll have earned it for
Yeah.
sure. And if they do anything more than 8-4, it will be absolutely insane. Um, Caleb says this pick is less about the schedule and more about him being high on Diego Pavia, who fought for his extra year of eligibility precisely because he had something to prove, which is
Mm.
true.
Yeah.
Um, I am really excited for Diego Pavia this year, personally. And I was wrong. For whatever reason, I saw Eli Stowers like draft buzz in an article, And I was like, oh yeah, he's gone. Turns out he's coming back.
Okay.
So there's that. Just
I'm I'm disappointed that Vandy doesn't have a week 0 game this year.
yeah, yeah. Give me what happened to that awesome, fun series of Vandy and Hawaii playing in week 0,
That should
where
be an
games
annual
kicked
thing.
off at midnight in Honolulu.
Yeah. Should be a thing. Come on, Vandy. Like that is your time to shine. Week 0, everyone's like craving football, SEC football at that, even though they're typically not, who you think of for that, but that would be cool for
Yes,
them getting somebody get in their ear, please.
yes. I'm gonna go ahead and get into my two teams here. Um, I'm not gonna run through it quickly, but it is starting to storm outside, so we will need to push through it just a little bit because y'all know my power goes out anytime it starts to get too bad. So, all right. So my first team, Oklahoma. Oklahoma got absolutely wrecked last season from injuries. We've talked about it ad nauseum, but they were down to their fifth string wide receiver and their fourth string running back like 3 weeks into the season. It was awful. It was terrible. I don't think there is a single team in the country that could have overcome that deficit of talent to play well for most of the season. I don't think it's
No,
possible.
no.
But that really hurt. Jackson Arnold, got benched against Tennessee, ended up transferring to Auburn. So, we'll see. There's a reason none of us talked about Auburn in this.
Yeah.
Um, but, Michael Hawkins Jr. was the starter for a few games and the backup. Well, he's getting replaced this season by a more proven commodity in John Mateer. I'm not entirely sold on John Mateer, but sleeping on a former Washington State quarterback that isn't entirely proven at a high level is not something that those of us who know do. We just,
Right.
do it after Gardner Minshew had every statistical category in his career. He was the best at Washington State, and then Cam Ward, under an entirely different coaching staff, did the same thing and then was the number one overall pick in the draft without a question, so much so that nobody talked about him leading up to the draft.
No, not at all. He's the least talked about number 1 draft pick maybe ever.
Right.
At even a quarterback. A quarterback.
Yeah. Like that. Those are the two most notable former Washington State quarterbacks. So we don't sleep on Washington State quarterbacks here. But John Mateer's last season schedule was Mountain West teams, and they didn't play all that well against them. The defense didn't. He did well, but still the level of competition is entirely different between Mountain West and the SEC. Some are saying, you know,
Yes, up for debate. Yeah.
yes. I will say last season, the defense was in no way, shape, or form the issue for Oklahoma. The defense by themselves beat Alabama and gave Georgia a SEC championship. So shout out Oklahoma and Skeletor over there. Uh,
Right.
but even if the defense drops off a little bit going into this season, I don't think that will be as big of a deal because the offense should be better. And I'm mainly basing this on you can't expect that many injuries. You just can't.
Right. Yeah.
Like you can't expect there to not be a single intact ACL in Norman, Oklahoma. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
So
The injury luck has got to be better. It
yeah,
has to be. There's no choice.
I'm personally really high on Oklahoma being better this year, but I'm not sold on them being contenders like a lot of people were saying around SEC media days before all the injuries last season. They
Yeah.
will be better. They're more talented in pretty much every position, maybe except for wide receiver, but the guys they have healthy this year are still better than the guys that were playing for them last year.
Yeah.
So I'm high on Oklahoma, and that's it'll also be good that we can talk to somebody for when Georgia and Oklahoma eventually play each other, unless it becomes a Texas A&M thing.
It will be interesting to see how they end up doing the schedule after this coming season.
Because an article that I read last week was ESPN is throwing around the idea of some stupid money for non-conference games after
Mm.
this year.
Put Texas and Oklahoma on Georgia's schedule. Ignore Texas A&M for as long as possible.
No, put Texas A&M playing in Athens,
Again,
and then after that season, blow up the schedule and be like, all right, guys, we got to redo it, and then never have Georgia play at A&M.
we're at what 13 years?
13 years.
Gonna be 14 at a minimum. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah. Never went to.
All right, so my next team, it's the Louisville Cardinals, and I know. Look, guys, I said it on the show way too many times to count. I didn't pick Louisville in the bracket for March Madness this year because I don't trust a bird with teeth.
Fair.
Get it?
Mm.
That's just who I am.
Birds aren't real anyway. We've discussed this.
Birds are not real. That is 100% a fact. But I'm high on Louisville for, I think, different reasons than a lot of other people that talk college football are high on Louisville. One, Jeff Brom individually by himself got them out of little brother territory with Kentucky.
Mhm.
The beat down they put on Mark Stoops last year completely dispels that notion.
Yeah.
Two, in 2024, they were a total of 17 points from being undefeated, including beating Miami, which they should have done. Miami was once again bailed out by the refs. A one possession loss to Notre Dame, and they already beat Clemson at Clemson last year.
It's impressive.
So, number three, and this is a little bit of a metaphor, so you just kind of got to follow it. This year's Louisville is last year's Florida State with balls and determination.
Okay.
They transfer quarterback, transfer running back. Half of their team is transfers. So I even have the numbers to back that up.
So you're saying they're a team of mercenaries, but with Jeff Brom, it's not
Yes.
going to be the fall off that we saw from Florida State 2024.
Correct. And I may have to give up on pulling up the stat here because my power did just flicker. Here we go. 48th in the country returning production, 66% overall, 50% offense, 81% defense. They're bringing in Miller Moss, the former USC quarterback, to replace Tyler Shug, who Miller Moss is instantly better than Tyler Shug. Sorry, not sorry.
And if you saw the highlight of Tyler Shuck's, like one of his, I can't remember who they were playing, but like this underhand BS that he threw, like that all the people that were hating the Saints were taking him.
Yeah.
And he's like 27 years old. Like he was.
Yes.
But he was Justin Herbert's backup, right?
He
At
was.
Oregon.
He was.
Justin Herbert's about to get a second contract. Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, back to the metaphor of Florida State. So a lot of guys are transferring in. Most of their offense transfers. But the reason Florida State sucked last year was not talent. It was the mentality of the coaches instilled into that locker room. You don't have the problem with Louisville and Jeff Brom because I think, one, Jeff Brom's a better coach than Mike Norvell. And two,
Sure.
Jeff Brom has lived his entire life it's the XFL, and he has a pulse, so they will be playing football.
Yeah. Right. If
Jeff
you don't
Brom,
know, look it
I
up.
think, would like to die on a football field because he headbutted one of his players too hard after they got a scoop and score touchdown.
There you go.
I think that's who he is.
Yeah.
And then, number four, I already talked about this. Man, they're better at every position, specifically the quarterback position. I don't feel like I really need to go into too much detail. If you followed anything about the NFL draft or ever seen the video of Tyler Shuck's career college football highlights, he played for 8 years, and it's like a 30-second video. It's not very long.
No, it was a 1-year starter and legit.
No, he started at some Texas school. I think
Oh,
it was Texas Tech.
he was at Texas Tech that year.
That's why you
on my
hate him so
team.
much.
That's right. And the Saints took him 40th overall. They saw all that. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Our guy.
They
Our guy.
said, "Hey, dude, we know, we know that at this point you should have a PhD with how long you spent in college,
Mhm.
and we know you kind of suck. We also know you're going to be better in the locker room than Shadur. So get on over here." Yeah, that's who I've got. So we're gonna start lining up interviews for these different schools and teams. I'm personally looking forward to it quite a bit.
Mhm.
Um, I think this is one of our joint favorite segments that we do throughout each and every year, let alone off season. Is just talking to all these different people and getting a different perspective from folks around the country. And I hope you guys like it as much as we do, because either way, we're not going to stop doing it.
Can't stop, won't stop.
No. We do have a new series coming out on YouTube starting soon. The SEC Big Ten Football Challenge that we did, we are gonna. I have done simulated games, recorded them. I'm gonna edit the videos just a little bit, try to take out the cutscenes, knock time on these videos down just a little bit, and then start putting those on YouTube. I'm going to aim for doing that on Tuesdays.
Okay.
So I'm going to aim for putting that out on Tuesdays. It'll be between when we put this episode out and when we put out our episode later in the week. I may do it Wednesday. Probably upload it Tuesday night and it'll be there Wednesday. But yeah, we're doing that, and then we're going to try and do some other cool things with simulated games on College Football 25. So be on the lookout for that on our YouTube channel. But if you haven't already, follow us on social media. Y'all know all the links. If you're watching on YouTube, just look around in a circle on the screen. You'll see it there. Um, and as always, guys, remember there's nothing finer in the land.
And a drunk, obnoxious Georgia fan.